Hello and welcome to Always in Escrow with Sarina Appel and Colby Burchin. Hi, Colbs.
Hi, Sarina. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited about today's conversation. We have not one, we have two inspectors today.
True. I have two amazing inspectors. And, in my business, people, when they're looking for a home to purchase, they always tell me, oh, I have an inspector. I'm like, who's your inspector? I only have two of the best. I have two people that really know how to inspect a home.
So we have Bradley Walls, who grew up in South Florida, is a local, is a third-generation home inspector, specializes in residential and commercial buildings, and is the president of Premium Building Inspections. Hello, Bradley.
Hey, Sarina, how are you?
I'm great. And we have Greg Rothberg. Greg Rothberg is the vice president at JR Inspection Services, a second-generation home inspector. We're excited to see you both.
Thanks for having us, Sarina.
Greg is an amazing guy. I see him on a regular basis, which is also great to catch up with him. We are both members of Florida Association of Building Inspectors, where we do our continuing education, so that way that we can stay on top of what's going on in our industry, and also learn techniques and trades, tricks of the trades. So pleasure being here with Colby. It was an honor to be here with Greg as well. He's an amazing guy. We get along pretty well.
It's hard to beat what Brad just said, but I agree 100% what he did say. And what's nice about when I would say we're both top dog inspectors, is that if I'm busy, I don't mind Brad giving Brad overflow or vice versa. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, Sarina and Colby and Brad. I'm honored.
So, Greg, I'm going to ask you first question. Do you inspect for mold? Because so many of my buyers are so worried about mold.
Yeah, I do. I hold not only do I hold a state license in home inspection, I hold a state license in mold assessment. So part of my general home inspection is looking for any visible signs of mold. I'm looking for water intrusion. I'm looking by water heaters, AC, toilets, sinks, showers. We all know mold needs moisture. So as I'm going around, I'm able to, visually check at no additional cost. If your client wants testing to be performed, we do charge to take samples that get sent to the lab and write a protocol report. And I'm in the business, and I tell people there's some mold that's serious where, baseboards and drywall are going to have to be cut. And there's some mold that is, kind of BS that you find on an everyday basis. I mean, I get people to say, oh, did you see the mold on the surface of the refrigerator? Yeah, I did. Get a Clorox wipe and clean it off. It's not a porous material. So, we're able to kind of distinguish what's serious and what's not. So I always have my equipment with me. So if they want to do testing and send it to a lab, I'm able to do that right at the time of inspection, where they don't need to wait 4 or 5 days to get another professional out there. So yes, I do as part of my general home inspection.
So my question starts for Bradley. I want to know a little bit about, a must-have in every South Florida home, an AC. So typically, how long do ACs last for? And I'm wondering if you can also bust the myth that an AC in a snowbird or snowflake's house may actually last even longer.
So most of the snowbirds and the snowflakes are pretty much going to be like a condo, possibly. That's the majority of the living conditions for them, although that there are some in single-family homes. But I think, in my opinion, that in a condo, AC may last a little bit longer than it would be in a single-family home. So typically, the age of the AC is around 10 to 12 years. And that's also based on how often it's being used, the living conditions of the person that owns the house. For instance, my house, I keep it at 76 during the day. It drops down to about 73 at night. And then that way it's just kind of on a regular schedule. Some people have their AC maybe set at 73 24/7, where it's kind of being ran all day. And that could possibly do a little wear and tear, and the AC may not last as long as normal. So for the most part, whether you're home or not, you're snowflake, snowbird, it's best to kind of keep the AC set at a regular temperature, maybe 77, 78 degrees, whether you're home or not. It kind of helps take the humidity out of the room. It has a little bit of an airflow, so nothing gets stagnant. If somebody were to just shut off their AC in a condo for 3 to 4 months, I mean that would just wreak havoc. Greg would tell you. I mean, there would be so much stuff going on in the house because of the environment that we live in with these high humidity and the heat that we have. So there's got to be some sort of air circulation going on in the house.
There's another kind of like add on these UV lights on an AC system. And we're just wondering if it's worth the money, if they add any extra value.
I think so. I wouldn't add it on if you already have an AC, but pretty much most of the new installs, I recently had mine done, and it was almost like a package. They just included it in with the install. So I didn't pay that much more for it. They actually gave me a Nest thermostat as well. I don't know if it was because I made mention that I was a home inspector and I know a little bit about ACs, it's little perks of the trade. But for the most part, I think it's even in the head, knowing whether it works or not. But I think it works. I think it's great. I feel like, just a peace of mind in that sense, where I think it's beneficial.
I just want to step on one thing what Brad said about the UV light. I agree with him 100%. But there's UV lights, and then there's air purification systems. My advice is, if they're going to get something, get an air purification system. That's what they're using in like restaurants now with COVID that's going around. It's better than just a UV light. So, spend a little more money and get an air purification system if they're going to do it. You don't need it, but if you're going to spend the money on a UV light, get one that's actually an air purification system that goes through the whole system. It's a lot better.
That's great. Thank you.
A lot of people always ask me, what's the differences with roofs? If they pick a certain roof, if they're building a home, do they get more years out of it? If they're buying a resale and it has a shake roof or aluminum roof, how many years will they get? What's your opinion about a roof?
So roofs are obviously probably one of the most expensive items in a house, and something that me and Greg really have to look into, knowing for the buyer, meaning that somebody doesn't want to purchase a house that has an old roof or a roof that's leaking. So obviously, the newer the roof, the better. There's certain types of roofs down here which are pretty standard with concrete tile roofs. There's asphalt shingles. There's metal roofs, but they all come with a different price. Certain neighborhoods are restricted on what types of roofs or materials that they could use. Most of the higher end roofs or neighborhoods, the higher end neighborhoods will have concrete tile. So those last typically around 25 years. As we're inspecting, we're looking for possible repairs, broken shingle, broken tiles. They get people that come up there and clean the roofs, which are regular maintenance, but they go on with some heavy equipment. They're walking around. They're not walking on the tiles properly, which can cause the tile to break, which is pretty much cosmetic. But once that opens up and exposes the underlayment, the felt paper, that sun just pretty much beats it down and starts to deteriorate. So those are things that we take photos of, we document, and then we have cost estimates in a report.
Got it. So Greg, question for you. A lot of my buyers want to know like the exact age of a roof, air conditioner, water heater, appliances. Do you help them out with that?
Yes, I do. So I use BuildFacts, which is we pay for it, but basically it tells you any permit that was pulled on a roof, so you can see when the roof was replaced. It's very important because just like Brad said, a tile roof you usually get your 23 to 25 years out of. But what happens is on seller's disclosures, time flies and people put, oh, my roof is 10 years old. I look it up and it's actually 15 years old. So that makes a difference. Same thing on ACs. You get a house built in 1990 and on the MLS or seller's disclosure says AC is newer. Yeah, it's newer because it's not the original, but it's still 10 years old. Well, 10 years old is nearing the end of its life. So I do tell them the exact manufacturing dates of the water heater, the AC, and when the roof was installed. Most of the appliances were able to tell them the exact manufacturing date as well. And clients want that. They want to know, Just because an AC is 10 years old doesn't mean it needs replacement, but they need to know that it's nearing the end of its life, to budget in the near future for replacement. So we do tell them that, and I think it's important that that's done.
Unfortunately, with the Surfside building collapse, a lot of buyers coming to South Florida are very scared in purchasing either a condo or a home. How do you guys evaluate structures, and how do you advise buyers in moving forward with the process? Because actually, some homes are even not even concrete blocks; some are even wood framed.
So that Surfside is very tragic, very unfortunate, and in my opinion, it's something that could have been prevented. There's every condo association has maintenance involved, and obviously with maintenance and upkeep costs, is people have to pay. They get special assessments, and I think possibly most of these older people are on fixed income, and they probably didn't have the means, and the budget for the association maybe was under budget, and they didn't have money to do the repairs. And I think they just try to kind of turned a blind eye. And I think it's something that, with the deferred maintenance that was involved in that building, that's something that could have been preventative. Preventative. But structurally down here, for the most part, everything is concrete block. We do have some wood frame homes on some older houses. But something me and Greg are looking for are cracks, settlement cracks. I mean, if we come across a house that has a crack going up the side of the house that's, about a half-inch thick, yeah, there's something going on here. This is something that needs to be addressed. And both of us, we're not structural engineers. At least I know I'm not. I'm not sure Greg is, but that's where we come in. We recommend professionals, somebody that's knows what they're doing with the structural aspect, and further evaluate it. It's something that we'll take photos of, we'll document, and if it's something that we're not aware of or don't know, we just recommend further evaluation. So it's something that. Down here in South Florida, we have some of the strongest building codes because of hurricanes. So for the most part, everything's solid. But unfortunately, there are some things where things with deferred maintenance and upkeep gets neglected, and it can cause some issues.
Yeah, I agree with what Brad said. When we're going around a house, it's very important you hire an inspector who knows kind of what they're doing, as in some houses in some communities are stuccoed all the way down. So you look with the naked eye and you say, oh, that's a block house. It's actually not. Some of them are not block houses. They're wood frame, stuck over wood frame. It makes a difference in the value of the house. If the whole neighborhood's selling for $800,000 and you got a wood frame, you're the one with the wood frame house. Unfortunately, it should be a little cheaper. So as a buyer, you need to know that you're not buying a block house. Also, your insurance rates could possibly go up if it is a wood frame house. On these single family houses with cracks, as Brad said, we're looking for structural cracks. The old rule of thumb, just to kind of give it, if you can stick a coin in a crack on an exterior wall, that's something of concern where, yes, we do call for a structural engineer to come out. Some of the newer inspectors, they see hairline settlement cracks underneath windows, which we see on an everyday basis. And should they be sealed? The answer is yes. But they call for a structural engineer to come look at those cracks. There's no need for that. They just need to be sealed. They're not structural cracks, but they just try to cover their butts and say, oh, get a structural engineer. You kind of got to know the difference between what a hairline crack and a structural crack is. And then on the surf side, I mean, it's tragedy what happened, but a lot of the condos now, because of that, what happened at, any building over 30 years old, they've already had their structural engineers come out and evaluate the building to prevent that. So on a condo, I know I'm not looking for the structural cracks. That's more on a condo association thing. But if I was a buyer, I would be double checking with the condo association that they've already had their building looked at by a structural engineer to make sure there's, no assessments or future assessments because of, anything that could be wrong with the building.
When me and Greg are doing inspections, we're pretty much for condos specifically. It's just more about that unit. It's not the building itself. However, I'm sure Greg would do the same. Our head is on a swivel. So as soon as we get out of the truck, we're looking at how's the maintenance done on the house, the upkeep, is there the building freshly painted, the lobby, how's the lobby? Is it nice? Is it outdated? And of course, if we had seen something walking up into the elevator, into the unit, For instance, me, it's just a natural sense where I'm looking at the elevator. Everybody has a yearly inspection with the elevator. I'm looking to see, oh man, they're behind on their elevator certification. So those are just certain things that we look forward to as we're walking to the unit, but it's specifically more or less just for the unit itself, not the whole building.
Well, I know why Colby's been working with you with you both for all these years, and there's definitely plenty of work to be done. So thanks again. This was fantastic.